Hi, I'm Greg, and welcome to My Gregarious World. Please like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell if you'd like to follow our 30-day adventure in Rome. Your comments and questions are always welcome in the comment section below. It was a 20-minute walk from our condo to Campo di Fiori. We needed to do some shopping for groceries, and Campo di Fiori was the outdoor market we chose to visit. The prominent monument in the market is dedicated to Giordano Bruno, a monk and philosopher who was burned for heresy in 1600 on the exact spot of the ominous statue depicting him. Although the market was a bit of a tourist trap, we enjoyed browsing around the different stalls filled with souvenirs, clothing, cheese, flowers, fresh fruit, and vegetables. We ended up buying some vegetables from a vendor, and I was advised by my wife that it's a faux pas to touch the produce yourself. Just point to the items you want to purchase and the vendor will bag it for you. A must-see while at Campo di Fiori is a small meat shop called Norcineria Viola. You can't miss it. It's located near the statue of Bruno, and there's a real boar's head above the entrance. The Norcineria is a traditional, authentic Italian deli filled with prosciutto, speck, salamis, and many other types of cured meats hanging from the ceiling and in glass cases. We ended up buying some delicious mortadella, salami, and some pork cracklings. It was a bit pricey as it is frequented by tourists, but well worth it. Karen and I were ready for the walk home to drop off our groceries, and as we were leaving Campo di Fiori, we were stopped by a waiter who offered us a seat at a beautiful cafe on the outskirts of the square. Karen asked how much a cappuccino was, and he responded €6 plus a coperto, or cover charge of €2. As mentioned in my introduction to this series, we are not budget travelers, but we do look for a good value, and €6 plus a coperto was not a good value. So we passed and walked a block away and found Bar Farnese, a small coffee bar filled with locals standing at the bar drinking their espressos. Two elderly gentlemen were busy making coffee. We ordered 2 cappuccini and a meritoso pastry to share. The man serving us recommended a little chocolate powder on top of our coffees, and the cappuccinos were delicious. Our bill was under €5 for 2 cappuccinos and a pastry. And we were welcome to sit at one of their tables with no coperto charged while we watched the regular patrons go about their day. This became our favorite coffee shop in Rome. On the walk back home, we saw a church with its green door open. We follow the Catholic Traveler on YouTube, and he always says that whenever you see an open green door, you must go in. This church wasn't on our list of churches to see, but we still popped into the Basilica Sant'Andrea della Valle, St. Andrew of the Valley. It's a gorgeous church with spectacular ceilings. It has the 3rd largest dome in Rome, after the Pantheon and St. Peter's, and also has the 2nd highest dome in Rome. Only St. Peter's Basilica's dome is higher. The church is also known because Puccini set the first act of his opera Tosca in Sant'Andrea della Valle. We spent about a half hour admiring the beauty of this church. There were mirrors available to view the ceiling, and we used them as they do save you from a stiff neck. After dropping off our groceries and having a quick snack, we ventured out again. As we would do many times during our 30-day stay in Rome, we passed by Largo di Torre Argentina, the site in Rome where Julius Caesar is believed to have been assassinated. At the time we visited in May 2023, it was not open to the public, but now you can visit where on the Ides of March 15th, 44 BC, Julius Caesar was stabbed to death. We also passed by Trajan's Column, and across the street from there, very near the Victor Emmanuel II monument, the Vittoriano, we found another open green door. So we made another unplanned church visit, this time to Santa Maria di Loreto. It is one of the twin dome churches you notice in the background when you view Trajan's Column. All the churches in Rome are like art galleries and filled with beautiful and interesting artwork. What we liked best about this church was the amazing mosaics that surrounded the altar. We spent about 10 minutes looking around and admiring the beauty of the mosaics, and then proceeded to our planned destination, St. Ignatius of Loyola. The exterior of St. Ignatius is definitely not as impressive as the interior. After entering, you see yet another church filled with breathtaking artwork. Known for having an especially spectacular ceiling, St. Ignatius, like St. Andrea della Valle, has a mirror. Unfortunately for us, there were several large tour groups visiting while we were there. Many were posing for that perfect Instagram photo with the mirror. Therefore, the line for the mirror was so long, we passed. Instead, we focused on seeing another piece of artwork for which the church is famous. But in order to view it, I had to find the perfect spot. I read that I should look for a round disc on the floor in the center aisle. I found a wooden disc, and when I looked up as instructed, I had a perfect view of a dome. However, it wasn't a dome. It's actually a 3D painting of a dome. Domes were expensive at the time the church was built, so a fake dome was painted on the ceiling. Looking up while standing on this disc gave the perfect view of the fake dome. We had a late lunch reservation, and we still had one planned stop at the Basilica of San Lorenzo in Lucina prior to lunch. On the way to the church, we passed by the Temple of Hadrian, which now houses the Roman Stock Exchange, and the Column of Marcus Aurelius in Piazza Colonna. Built in the 5th century, St. Lawrence in Lucina is one of the oldest places of worship in Rome, and quite modest from the outside. There are some interesting marble plaques and grave markers on the facade as you enter the church. There's also an archaeological area under the church, and tours are available, but very infrequently. Tours can be booked at the small bookstore located near the entrance to the church. We visited with hopes of viewing the gridiron or grill on which St. Lawrence was martyred. It's located underneath the main altar of the church. However, we couldn't identify it, but knowing it was there was important to us. This church is also famous for a bust of Dr. Gabriele Fonesca by Bernini. It is a must-see for those following the Bernini Trail in Rome. On our way to the restaurant, we passed the column of the Immaculate Conception. Nearby, there was a man selling hot chestnuts. We remembered him from the last time we were in Rome in 2019, and always hoped to try the chestnuts. We were tempted to stop and buy some, but since we were headed to lunch, we decided against it. Unfortunately, we did not make it back to him during our 30 days. So if you've seen this man and bought chestnuts from him, let me know in the comments if you liked them. Ristorante Delicioso is located near the Spanish Steps. We ordered a bottle of sparkling water to share. I chose a house red wine and Karen a house white wine. For our first course, my wife ordered pasta amatriciana, a tomato-based sauce with guanciale, pecorino romano, and chili pepper. I had the lasagna ragu, tasted fresh and homemade, delicious. For our entrees, Karen ordered polpette, meatballs with rosemary, olives, and I ordered saltimbocca alla romana. Both were served with fried potatoes and salad on the side. For dessert, Karen had the panna cotta, and I had the tiramisu. All the food was delicious, and the service and ambiance was perfect. Total cost was about €75. On the walk home, we stopped by the Basilica of San Silvestro in Capite. It was supposed to be open, but it wasn't. This happened many times during our 30 days in Rome. We'll have to go back another day to see the relic of St. John the Baptist's skull. Since the church was closed, Karen suggested we pass by Trevi Fountain. We heard it was very crowded in the afternoons and wanted to see for ourselves. And yes, it was crowded. I strongly recommend a visit early in the morning. We held onto our valuables and got out of there. A short walk from the Trevi Fountain, and our last stop of the day was the Basilica of the 12 Holy Apostles, another spectacular church. This was probably one of our favorite churches in Rome. Whenever possible, we tried to explore the crypts and ruins underneath these magnificent churches. In many cases, these early churches were built over the homes of the original martyrs. My favorite part of visiting these very old churches is exploring what's underneath. The crypt under the altar contains the remains of the apostles Philip and James Minor. Both apostles were sentenced to crucifixion after preaching throughout the Roman Empire after the death of Jesus. The original church collapsed during the Dark Ages, and the remains of Philip and James were buried for nearly 1,300 years. They were found during a renovation that took place in 1873. Those renovating the church discovered the crypt under the original altar, which is now below the level of the renovated church. A good end to our day was seeing the remains of some of those who walked with Jesus. See you next time. Buonanotte. Please hit the subscribe button so you'll be notified when Day 3 in Rome becomes available. Day 3 includes our pasta making class, Michelangelo's Moses, the chains that held St. Peter, and more.